This experiment's called Sink or Swim. This is an excellent one, again, to reinforce scientific method. Remember that any kind of scientific experiment that you're making, you should use the scientific method. That reinforces that element to the students. It also helps them to process the formulation that they would use on standardized test or in a college class. So it's important that they practice that scientific method. Also, it's important that you use vocabulary with all of these. I've given you some of the vocabulary as we've gone through some of these little mini condensed versions of these experiments, but it's important for you to look not only at what you're getting in the notebook that has these experiments in it, but also from your own common knowledge about some of the vocabulary that goes with some of these words. So let's talk about sink or swim. There's lots of vegetables and fruits that you can use in these. I've just chosen a few that are in the store today, but you can use a variety of different things. At this point in the experiment, I would ask my students to make some predictions about what will happen, what will sink and what will swim. And so that would be where I would start. So you in your own mind think about whether these things sink or swim, and as we try them, we'll mark them over here as whether they sink or swim. Now, a lemon, sort of heavy. Let's see if he sinks or swims. Interesting. All right, so he swims. All right, let's talk about an apple. It's bigger size. He swims. Let's think about a kiwi. Whoop, he sunk. Let's think about a tomato. Make your prediction. He's going to float, but he's struggling to float. Oh, there he comes. He's going to float. Let's look at a peach. He's a lot bigger than a lot of these fruits, and yet there he is, swimming up a storm. A nectarine, a little smaller, but a heavier, denser piece. He swims as well. What about an orange? Great big orange, by the way. He floats as well, so he's going to go on the swim side. Cucumber. He swims. Avocado. He's a little heavier, but he's going to swim. Now, I haven't tried this, but it works. If you put a watermelon in your swimming pool in the summer to get it nice and cool for eating, it'll float. Banana. He floats. Pepper. Oh, he's very buoyant. And obviously buoyant is one of the vocabulary words that you can use with this. Well, avocado over here, or my little kiwi all by himself. Potatoes, sunk to the bottom. Now, why in the world would some things sink and some things swim? Again, it has to do with the molecular structure of things. Let's open up a couple of these things and talk about those. Let's talk about the pepper, for example. Okay? Why would the pepper float? It's because what is the pepper full of? He's got pockets of air. Those air pockets cause it to float. So that makes sense that he would float. Okay? Why would the cucumber float? Think about what's on the inside of a cucumber. When you cut him open, he has all of these little seeds that are surrounded by what? Air pockets. Thus, he's going to be very buoyant and he's going to float. But you say, well, why would something like the apple float? Well, if you'll think about what an apple looks like on the inside, around he has a big air pocket where the seeds are. Okay, that's what causes him to float. Now, that same principle is true for all of those. Now, let me throw you a curveball on that one. We decided that the orange would float. Okay. And let's talk about why he floats, because he doesn't have pockets around his seeds, all right? But I'm going to peel this one, and then let's talk about what's going to happen with him. And the surprise, I think, in this little story, and again, you can talk about the hypothesis and the observations and the predictions and the data and so forth about what sinks and swims. And as I said, you can use any kind of vegetables or any kind of fruits for this particular experiment. Okay, so we decided that the orange floated, and now that I've got him peeled, let's see what he does. Why would he sink now? That has to do with all of the little air pockets that are in the little dimples on the orange. And then between the orange, the meat part of the orange and the seed, there is a little bit of air encompassing around the meat part of the orange. That's what makes him sink when his skin's gone. The same thing would happen if I peel the lemon, or if you did a lime, same principle. Got air pockets in that form, and as a result, then they will sink with no skin. Now, to take that even a step further, let's talk a little bit about other things that you could talk about the same principle. Maybe some that would be a little less healthy. Let's talk about candy bars. You know, there's always fun in doing these experiments because you can eat this stuff when you get done. So, let's talk about that. So, I have a Snickers. So, make your predictions about what will happen if we use the Snickers bar. Will it sink or swim? Make your predictions. What's your hypothesis? He sinks like a lead balloon. Now, why would he sink? He's going to sink because he's made of heavy materials, peanuts, caramel, that type of thing. What about a Three Musketeers bar? Okay, Three Musketeers is made of, they talk about the nougat that goes in it, and it's very fluffy with lots of air pockets in it. So let's look at him. He swims. Now, if we look at the inside of the Three Musketeer bar, you can see all the air pockets that are in that and why he would be inclined to swim. Now, let's talk about maybe a Kit Kat, okay? Kit Kats have those little wafers inside. So is he going to swim or sink? He's going to swim. So I was curious then about a Twix is the same kind of thing, except let's think about whether he sinks or swims. He's sort of hanging in the middle. He's hanging in the middle because the wafer part is causing him to have enough buoyancy and enough air to be able to swim a little bit, but he's also got that caramel, and that caramel is very heavy, and as a result, he's going to eventually sink, but he hung in the middle for a little while. So, sink or swim, buoyancy, all kinds of things that you can talk about, seed pockets, air pockets, the difference in different fruits, make all kinds of predictions about what will happen. Sink or swim.